y'all, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to record an FAQ video because my friend Corinne suggested that I do it, and I think it's a great idea because I get a lot of the same questions, and I think it would be cool and like beneficial to just sort of like explain a little bit more about like what I do and why I do it. But anyway, let's get into the first question, which is, how did you get into tarot / how long have you been doing it? So I get this question a lot. It's probably the most like asked question that I get. But I have been doing it for about 3 years now. My sister bought me a deck almost 2 years ago now. And it was just like something for fun. She was like, I think you'd be interested in this, because I was like super into crystals and like going to this psychic that I love, who is back in Kentucky. So she's like, I think you'd be interested in this, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. It was just, hold on, let me get the deck. It's just this cute like little pocket-sized deck, which I love. I don't really use it that much anymore. But actually I think the last time I used it was at this fundraiser I was at. I was like meditating on all the readings I was gonna do, and it's like, if there's any special messages for anybody, let me know. And then I saw this little boy like choose this deck. I usually don't bring it to like do events or anything like that, but I mean, if you have a vision of someone choosing it, then it only makes sense to bring it. But yeah, like he definitely did end up choosing it. Maybe I don't know, he just liked that one. But anyway, so I got this like little pocket-sized deck, and I was just using it for fun. Like I did a reading for myself every day pretty much, and like googled what the cards mean, and just like spent 2 years learning the cards just cuz I didn't know I was like preparation for this business. But anyway, I like spent 2 years looking up the cards, and then I was spiritually guided to like start this business, which I like never wanted to work for myself or like thought I would. But started that business back in August, I think August 11th. And I've just been like growing it and doing events and like working out of places, doing tarot, and just like really building this thing up from nothing. So yeah, it's been a cool journey. Anyway, I think that answers that question. All right, question 2. How do I pick the cards when I shuffle? So it's actually really interesting. I don't pick the cards, they sort of pick me. So I just like hold the cards and loosely shuffle, and then they like pop out like that. So like whatever cards feel like popping out are the ones that I take. Just wonder what cards actually did pop out. Interesting. And we had one of them. Interesting. That was a message for me, y'all. Sorry, I'm not sharing. Anyway, yeah, so it's more of just like an intuitive like thing. I don't really like pick the cards. I just like let them fly out. So question 3, how do you know what you know? So I think that comes from like my like the way that I do my reading. So I'm an intuitive tarot card reader. So it's a combination of like intuition and feeling, as well as like the traditional meaning of the cards. So When I do readings, I think people are sometimes like surprised what I can actually see in the cards, or like what I can feel. So like, I don't know. One time I was doing a reading for someone and it was like talking about what was it saying? I don't know. Something about like poetry or like writing. And they're like, how did you know I do poetry? It's like, I don't know. I just saw it in the card. Like, so it's just like intuitive messages that I get. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like, you ever have a feeling that someone's going to text you and then you look at your phone and like they text you at the exact same moment. Like, it's just that like intuition, a feeling, like an inner knowing that I've really like tapped into and like really worked to foster through like meditation and just my own like spiritual journey. And like the cards just speak to me. I don't know. It's just like intuition. And sometimes I also do a meditation session where I will like have visions of people like doing certain things. Um, like actually last night it was kind of random. I had done a shrooms, but I had this vision of like this girl that I met. Like we were gonna hang out, but I mean we had just like been at the first stage of like friendship where we just exchanged numbers, and we were like gonna trade readings for each other. But then I just had a vision of her like crying and like freaking out. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to like text her soon. And then like the spirits were like, no, text her right now. So I did. And like when she responded, I could just sort of tell that like she was going through something. So it's just like, I guess my intuition is just a combination of like clairvoyance and clairaudience, like visual messages, hearing things, and it all just comes from like spirit and the universe, and I just relay the messages that I get. Let's see. Question 4. What percentage of your readings are reading people versus reading the cards? So I get this a lot where people like think that I like read people, which I feel like people mean like reading people's body language versus like actually getting messages from the cards, which is not what I do at all. Like whenever I'm channeling messages, I sort of like go into this trance where I like look off into the distance. I don't even like see people. It's more about like tapping into what I'm feeling and like what I'm hearing from the spirits. So I don't even like look at people when I'm doing readings. But I guess I do like read people in a different sense in that I'm like tapping into their energy and like reading that. So it's more of like it's a spiritual practice versus like physically like seeing people like, oh, you have on like a suit and tie, so you must be like a businessman or something like that. Like it's more about like just tapping into people's energy and feeling what that means. But 100% of I guess I would say the information comes from the cards. So it's like the cards sort of like the cards are what generate these intuitive messages. So when I like see this card and then I get this message that's like a little bit, I guess it's not completely unrelated, but it's sort of like for example, I look at this card, the Fool, and like I could say like, oh, they're wearing pajamas, like you maybe there's a message about sleep or like not getting enough sleep, or maybe there's a message about like wearing specific colors, or like there's just a lot of there's a lot of things I can pull on from this card, and it's not based on like people's physical behavior, like physical appearance. It's more based on like what is speaking to me through the card, if that makes sense. And then my last question is, why do I have so many tarot decks? I have so many tarot decks because like it's literally art. But I will explain this. Like, I have these oracle decks which are not based on like the traditional major arcana and like minor arcana of the tarot, like traditional tarot decks. These are more freeform. Like this one is specifically about spirit animals. And then I have this one, which is like a completely, oh, this way. Oh no, that is, yes, a completely like different energy. Um, so like oracle decks are literally like individually expressive in their own way, if that makes sense. And like the traditional tarot deck is the same way. Like, let me see if I can get an example. Breaking the wall. Okay. So we have the Ten of Wands versus the Ten of Wands. Like, these say completely different things. First of all, this is like a love and sex deck. So it's the traditional tarot, but it's all framed around like romance and love. And then this one is like a very dark energy. It's sort of like creepy. So when you look at the Ten of Wands between like both of these cards, like they're just going to like read completely, they're just gonna like give completely different messages, and like they just read differently. And I always explain it as like, think about like going to like live figure drawing. Like the subject is the same, but everyone's drawing is going to be different, and it's going to express something different because it's made by like a different artist. So I feel like that's exactly the same thing with like these tarot decks. Like I get completely different messages depending on like what deck people choose, because I let everyone like choose their own deck. So I have so many because there's like so many different feelings and so many different things being expressed through them. So I just like to have options. Anyway, those are all the questions I have. I really love what I do, and I like approach my readings from a very like genuine and like honest intention. And I think that like just with the feedback that I get, like people really feel that, and like I'm able to really connect into people's like soul just from like, I think, having good intentions and like genuinely wanting to help and like provide clarity. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about like my practice as a tarot reader. Anyway, if you have more questions for me, comment down below and I'll answer them. And like this video if you found it entertaining or if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel to see more content from me. Thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.